And we live. Another pop-up shop. Study the Bible, not the sermon. What's today? Mental Health Mondays. They call me LOCKSMIF because knowledge is the key. Right? We're going to get right into it. Season 1, Episode 2. The spirit is willing. The flesh is definitely weak. Hashtag fasting. Right? The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Right, here we go. Mental Health Mondays. Right, enter at your own faith. Right, God is too, but then again, so are you. Right, what you mean by that? I mean spirit. You got the spirit of God in your nostrils. It's the Father is the Spirit, and the Son is Jesus Christ represented by the flesh. Right, because we in this flesh. Right, this is an analogy, not an absolute. So walk with me. Right, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is definitely weak. Jesus and Father is in harmony. So you just got to get your spirit and your flesh in harmony. Right? What we talking about? Every time that you took something, every time that you said something and you meant what you said and you felt it, but you just didn't follow through with it. Right? You didn't know that what you said, what you would do, that you wouldn't be able to do. Right? You should have known that you wouldn't be able to, but you was not able to. When it was actually your idea and you messed it up and you underestimated what you was dealing with and you was in over your head and your word failed and you wasn't able to deliver your life or deliver in your career or deliver in your marriage or deliver in your ministry, right? Or deliver in your righteous walk. Right? Jesus said it. We ain't going to read it right now, but Matthew 26 is where it comes from. Jesus about to be delivered to the enemy. The enemies of God, who ironically were the people who were set apart by God to execute the judgment of God. Right? It's like all type of triple entendres in that visual. You know what I'm saying? But Jesus said, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Right? Jesus in the flesh, not actually wanting to suffer, even though he had a perfect, shout out to MJ, even though he had a perfect understanding of what he was called to do in the end game. Last week we talked about the joy that was set before him. Even though he had that joy before him, he still had something going on here, and his flesh was dealing with it. Right? So he had 3 of his closest there. Right? And when he prayed, he came back. 3 of his homies, the closest road dogs, sleep. Right? He correct them. He make this statement about the flesh being weak, but the spirit willing, to show us what it's about. Leading by example. Right? And I didn't read the story because I want to talk more about the situation. Right? We're going to go to 2 Timothy chapter 2. Right? For Jesus' situation, it's 100% required. But what if you don't got the whole world's salvation on your shoulders? What if you're not about to die for the faith? Right? What if you just a regular dude? You know what I'm saying? Something that won't get you in the grave by the next high day. Right? 2 Timothy chapter 2, because Jesus kept his number 2 in line with his number 1. Like I said earlier, number 1, the spirit being the Father and the flesh being represented by Jesus, keeping his number 2 in alignment with his number 1. Right? Sin affects mental health in many ways. Right? But 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 22. Right? And it says, flee also youthful lusts, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Right? And this is kind of what I want to talk about a little bit. Youthful lusts. A lot of times our mental health is stagnated because we still chase youthful lusts. Right? What are we talking about? Like drag racing? Watching the UFC, the Ultimate Fighter? Maybe talking about like a boxing match or something like that, heavyweight championship? Right? We ain't even going to get into the sports, basketball and all that. But if you watching something that's actively participating in something by watching it, that got people full of wrath, right? Subject themselves to all sort of pain until they bloody like they in some type of a war or something. Right? These people in the boxing matches and Floyd Mayweather and all them, like, man, they not fighting no war. They fighting the same war we fighting. They fighting the war against ComEd. They fighting the war against the mortgage company. right? They were fighting the war against this stuff here, against tail-bearing, against envy and covetousness, and not being diligent in your own affairs. That's that variance, Galatians 5. That's what everybody fighting, right? You want to be aware of what you're watching. And just because, you pay for it and it's all good, everybody laughing, having a good time, is it really that? Right, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and get to the point, right? Because we got the answer. I got the answer. The Lord got the answer. The Bible got the answer. If you're suffering with any of these things that I just said, anger, backbiting, variance, right? Variance, not being diligent in your own affairs with your family, or being diligent in God's affairs. Talking about Jesus Christ. What else he say? Variance, tail-bearing, envy, and covetousness. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, and I'm going to read verse 24 through 27. And it says, know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receive the prize. So run, that you may obtain. And every man that striveth for mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we incorruptible. I therefore run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beat the air, but I keep under my body and bring into subjection, lest by any means, when I preach to others, I myself should be a castaway. Check this out. Normally you break that apart, right? And I know everybody who watching this is King James only, but I'm going to step outside of my familiar. I'm going to step outside of my familiar for a minute because I want to breathe something on you, right? In your favorite Bible app, it's another translation. There's actually several, but one of them that's real common is called CEB. It's a Common English Bible. It was translated, they say, to be at a comfortable reading level for all English speakers. And I want to read this same verse again because I think that it took me to another level when I read it. Right? Now, we all know what the words say. We just read it. You got it in front of you. Now, digest this. Right? 1 Corinthians 9:24 through 27. It says, don't you know all the runners in the stadium run, but only one gets the prize. So run to win. Everyone who competes practices self-discipline in everything. The runners do this to get a crown of leaves that shrivel up and die. But we do it to receive a crown that never dies. So now this is, that's them bill collectors always trying to get at you, boy, man. I'm going to pay you when I get it. They say the runners, so now this is how I run, not without a clear goal in sight. I fight like a boxer in the ring, not like somebody who's shadowboxing. Rather, I'm landing punches on my own body and subduing it like a slave. I do this to be sure that I myself won't be disqualified after preaching to others. Right? And that's what the point of this video is. What I'm currently doing, what I encourage everybody who struggle, fight like a boxer. Not for other people's amusement, not for entertainment. You see what I'm saying? Because they fighting the same thing we fighting. But you got Israel to go off and watch they fight, laugh at it, be amused at it, high five at it. But this our fight. Deny your flesh. Way too many children of Israel, people call themselves Christian, that tell their flesh yes way too much. Right? And if you think that I'm lying, tell yourself no to your favorite thing that you like to eat for 30 days. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. Right? One little talked about way to deny your flesh is a fast. Right? Fasting for our mental health, because that's what this is, right? Mental Health Mondays, right? Sound like a slogan to me. Fasting for our mental health. I fast often, and all my fasts are not created equal. I fast mostly just to set a statute, to get an understanding so that myself can understand that every so often, bro, you ain't getting that. Matter of fact, you ain't getting nothing today. Or for however long I decide to have it. Why? Just so you'll know. So you'll know what? So you'll know that when that happy person run up on you and say, ooh, yeah, have a muffin, have some donuts. No. Have some fries. Have some of this GMO meat. But it's from Harold's. Right? That's what he's talking about. Beating himself up. Landing punches on himself. Right? My fast are how I flex on myself. I consider my fast punches against my flesh, right? I practice saying no to food, right? I know a guy who went on an angry fast, right? Stopped being angry purposely and intentionally, sought out to not get angry, right? I think he like 3 weeks in now, right? No anger, right? Hangry, by the way, being angry just because you're hungry. I was just thinking about that. I don't think that that's okay for a servant of God to be angry because they're hungry. Remember the children of Israel, everything they got into it in the wilderness, and not everything, 90% of what they got into it in the wilderness about was about food and water. So I don't think hangry is the thing. I think we all need to work on that if we get hangry, all right? Just food for thought. You do the dishes, right? So some of us need to fast from stuff we hear, stuff we seeing in the media, right? I mean, you struggle with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You might want to consider the fast. Like 1 day a week, every 3 days. Maybe you want to put it down every day at 7:30. I don't know. At the dinner table, maybe fast from that fortnight, right? Get close to the Lord. Draw close. Discipline yourself. Because I'm telling y'all, shout out to Big Brother Will, because he know. We be talking about that wilderness, boy. You're going to get to that wilderness and you're going to find out that everything just ain't okay. You're like, man, I'm just checking my feed right quick. Like, bruh, I'm talking though. Right? Because a lot of people say that food not their idol. But, I ask you this. And you ask everybody this. Is food your idol? Nuh-uh, food ain't my idol. I worship God. When was the last time you fasted for somebody else? When the last time you stopped eating because of what somebody else was going through? No judgment, right? Because I ain't the judge. I'm just asking the question. You ask it to yourself. Answer yourself. You can feel free to jump in the comments with it if you want to. When was the last time you fasted for somebody else's cause and not on your own behalf? Whether you told them or they asked you or you asked them, whatever, right? Remember, your flesh is the enemy. Your flesh is trying to kill you every day. So you got to make it your slave. You got to flee youthful lust, right? That sounds like as a Christian, you should be telling your flesh no. Bible application. That's how you get your number 2 in alignment with your number 1. You got to discipline them, beat them down like it's a slave. Get your 2 in alignment with your number 1, just like Jesus got his number 2, his flesh, in alignment with his number 1, the spirit, and the spirit of God. Boom. Mental Health Mondays. If you're struggling, get your number 2 in alignment with your number 1. Beat your flesh down and subdue it like a slave. In Jesus' name. Catch me next week, Mental Health Mondays. I think I like this. I like this pop-up shop. I'm going to just do the pop-up shop. Shoot, just enough time if you was on your lunch break. Done and done. Everybody do me a favor. Share something. Mental Health Mondays next Monday at a random time. It's going down. LOCKSMIF knowledge is the key. Study the Bible, not the sermon, is the label that pays me. Turn. I say